Garlic is one of those ingredients that seems to be in every recipe. We use garlic nearly every day in the kitchen, so growing our own really was a no brainer. And this year, we put our garlic growing to the test by planting 7 different varieties to find out which ones grow best for us and which ones work the best for us in the kitchen. Based on our experiences, we've put together a set of quick tips to help you jumpstart your own garlic growing. So whether you're a seasoned gardener or you've never grown garlic before, we hope this guide will help inspire you to plant some garlic in your own garden. Garlic is a crop that you plant in the fall, and the garlic will overwinter in the ground, and it grows throughout the spring and gets harvested the following summer. So now that it's fall is a perfect time to be getting ready and planting your garlic out. So before we can plant any garlic, we need to prepare the bed. And this is no different than planting any other vegetable or flower. We want to make sure that the bed is cleared of any previous crops or particularly any weeds, of course. So we've got a nice clean slate to plant out our garlic. And then we want to add some goodness to the soil. Garlic, like other alliums, are really heavy feeders. And so we want to get a jump start and get some nutrients, recharge that soil with some organic compost, maybe some fertilizer, and work that into the soil before we get planting. So the next tip is choosing the varieties of garlic that you want to grow. And some of this is going to be based on where you live. There are 2 types of garlic. There are softneck and hardneck. And there's also elephant garlic, which actually is a type of leek and produces very large heads of garlic that have a more mild flavor compared to other varieties of true garlic that you might be used to. A quick tip about using garlic in the kitchen: if you're adverse to some of the stronger or sometimes harsher garlic flavors, roasting garlic is a great option. You can roast a few cloves or a whole head of garlic in the oven, and that actually brings out the natural kind of sweetness in garlic and tones down some of those harsh flavors. So once you've decided what garlic you're going to grow in your garden, it's time to get to planting. So the next tip is to make sure you carefully separate and select good cloves to plant. You want to take the head of garlic and separate out all the cloves individually. You want to preserve as much of that papery skin as possible, and also make sure you're choosing the largest, the healthiest looking cloves to plant. Avoid any that are damaged or maybe look diseased in any way. If you do happen to damage any, not a big deal. Just set those aside and you can use those in the kitchen straight away. Take your best cloves, and those are the ones that you're going to want to plant. The next tip is all about planting. And so planting garlic is relatively straightforward. You want to take a look at the type of garlic that you are growing and look at the instructions for that in terms of spacing. But generally speaking, you want to create holes about 3 to 4 inches deep, evenly spaced. And when you place the clove, 1 clove per hole, you want to make sure that the flat root end is facing downward and the pointier end is oriented upward. Larger varieties like the elephant garlic, they are going to need certainly more space, so you're going to want to plant them perhaps a little deeper and also space them a little further apart. Now that we have the garlic planted, the next tip is about getting them bedded down for winter. And so now is a good time to protect the garlic from those harsh winter conditions. I want to begin by applying a generous layer of some kind of organic mulch. You can use straw or leaves or compost, and you want that to be at least several inches thick. This is going to act like an insulating blanket. It's going to shield the garlic from kind of those extreme temperature fluctuations that we typically see during the winter season. The mulch stays in place. You can secure it with a network of small branches or twigs or some other lightweight pieces of wood and lay those across the bed. And this covering will remain in place until the snow starts to fall, if snow is going to fall in your area, and that's going to naturally blanket the bed and keep everything in place and also act as insulation and protection against the harsher winter temperatures. If you live in an area that has minimal snowfall, you'll want to keep an eye on this mulch layer and maintain it throughout the winter. Adjust it as you need to in order to ensure you have consistent coverage and protection for your developing garlic crop. So now you've got your garlic all planted. Let's fast forward a bit to the following spring. When spring comes around and your garlic is starting to grow on nicely, it's a good idea to apply a high nitrogen organic fertilizer to resume and maintain that active growth. And you want to monitor your garlic crop closely as the summer progresses. Garlic will naturally start to produce flower stalks, and these are called scapes. And once these scapes get tall and start to curl, that's when you can remove them. And they should be removed so that the energy that the plant is using is going into producing a larger bulb instead of producing a flower. As an extra bonus, garlic scapes are edible and they are a great addition to your kitchen, a good pesto. We've also used them in garlic knots. I will put a link to our ultimate garlic knot recipe down below in the description. So our next tip is all about harvesting. The optimal time to harvest is when about half the leaves of the garlic have yellowed and begun to dry and die back. When it is time to harvest, you'll want to pull all of the garlic very carefully, keeping the stalks and leaves in place and making sure that the roots are in place as well, and being careful not to damage any of the heads, any of the cloves of garlic during the process of lifting them out of the ground. Any damage that occurs is going to decrease the storage time that the garlic is ultimately going to have. After harvesting, the garlic needs to dry and cure for some time before storage. Keep the garlic in a cool, dry place for several days or maybe a week. And then at that point, you can remove the stalks, brush off the excess dirt, and you can trim back any of the roots. But you want to leave some roots at the very base of that garlic bulb, because where the roots meet the bulb is called the basal plate, and keeping that intact is key to longer term storage of the garlic. Through any of this process, if any of the cloves get damaged, you can just set those aside and use those in the kitchen straight away and leave the other garlic to be stored so that you can use in the fall and the winter to come. Another tip is to diversify your garlic patch with multiple varieties. Plant an assortment of garlic types like we did to discover what works best for your area so that you can plant the best, most flavorful garlic in your garden. So there we have it. Some quick tips on planting and growing on garlic in your garden. So are you ready to start planting? Following these easy tips, we hope you'll be well equipped to cultivate a wonderful garlic crop year after year. We hope you found this video helpful. If you've got any questions, leave them down below in the comments and we'll be happy to answer. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Hi, it's Dan from the Frog Pond Veg Patch. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. That'll help us create new content to share with you. And while you're here, check out this next video I have lined up for you. And don't forget to like and subscribe. That's the best way to help us out on this channel.